All right, welcome to episode 9 of The Brain and the Beard. I'm Tom. As always, we got Marky over there, and we have a very special guest, 3 guests today. 3 of my best friends, former Salisbury Seagulls. Today is going to be a Salisbury Lacrosse episode. I am so excited. I know these guys are jacked up as well. So Marky is going to be posing us questions today for our 3 guests and myself. So starting us off, I'm going to start up top here. We got Preston Dabbs, 4-time All-American at Salisbury, co-player of the year in 2016, not the player of the year, the co-player of the year. We also, on the bottom row, we have, if you're watching us, on the bottom row, we have Davis Anderson. In my opinion, quite arguably the most crucial piece to our team, fellow D-Mitty here with Preston. And then, of course, we have Mr. Opportunistic, Taylor Robon Rathbun in here to hold us down and wrap us up here. So we're going to get into it. We're going to have some fun. Fellas, how we doing?
Doing great. I'll be honest. I was hoping for the initial intro to not go behind team MVP and player of the year, but hey, I'm just here for a good time.
Press, how we doing, buddy?
Good, man. Good, man. It's an honor. The hottest podcast in New York. We're rising.
That's it. And DA, how we doing? You looking tan down there?
I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit nervous to be on this podcast right now.
Oh, it's big. It's big. You know, we're growing. Honestly, we're only big on TikTok, but maybe one day we'll make it in the other worlds here. So, go ahead, Marky, talk to us.
I think this could lift it off.
Marky, how you doing?
Before we get started, I just want to say, it's an honor to be in here with 3 national champions. We got the helmet.
There it is.
Right.
So, how about the one guy who didn't play is the one wearing the gear?
Back on. So I'm just jacked up for this episode. I know we've been talking about it for a while. Adds a lot of credibility to the pod, getting some national champs on here. So first, I know, Tom, you posed an opportunity for some people to ask some questions, through Instagram. And then I also have some questions for you guys, just, as the only non-Salisbury Lax player. So we'll get into those. But let me first start with these Instagram questions. I thought this was a great question. This was from Sir Lax. I don't know if you know.
Rolo.
Oh, yeah.
Rolo. So, I like this. So first I'm going to aim this towards the more defensive oriented players, and then we'll shift to the offense. So for the defensive guys, who was the toughest player to guard during practice?
Hold on, Marky, before you go, let me just preface this for everybody. Preston and Davis were short stick D-middies for us, and Taylor was a defenseman.
All right. Yeah. So for the defensive minded guys, actually, I guess that's pretty much everyone besides Tom, right? Who were the toughest players to guard in practice for you guys?
I think Preston backed me up on this one. First year, remember Kluge? That man was impossible to guard.
Yeah, I mean that was the definition of just a 200-pound fastest guy on the team, just freight train, and the guy would just have a 20-yard windup and just go downhill at you. And I mean, you basically just tried to get in the way, hope it didn't knock you out. I mean, that's basically what it was.
He was like a bowling ball going downhill. I'm happy I never had to play defense against him.
I just remember my body just being bruised every day from that guy.
All right, so DA's going with Kluge. Press, who you got?
This is a little bit of a homer response, but Tommy was really, really tough to guard. I mean, every single year I tried to pick a different guy. JB was tough too because he's so shifty. You couldn't really get your hands on him. But Tommy just had this. It was an ugly, just good way to dodge. It's like you couldn't figure out what he was doing. He got so physical, but he was just able to move his body to kind of absorb it, but kind of lead his head into it. It was a really, really hard dodge to read and get physical with him.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but that is a blatant lie. I was not a dodger, so I would give the credit to everybody else around me dodging. I was just a shooter. So I appreciate that. Rathbun,
Play three.
Who you got?
I got a 2-part answer. The first one would be Nate Blondino when he wasn't lazy and trying to feed all the time during practice, and coach finally yelled at him to dodge. Then he was actually hard, because people don't realize it. Nate's pretty beefy, and I think he was probably up to at least 200, 205 at one point in the season, and he could move.
Dude,
dude, he was beefy.
No, 200.
What I loved about Nate.
It's been a while, but.
What I loved about Nate is you would just walk away from a game and be like, hey, Nate played all right. Then you look at the stat sheet and he'd have 8 goals and 3 assists. He'd have the quietest 11 points. The dude was a monster.
Yeah.
All right. So we got Kluge. We got a lie saying me. So say anybody but me there. And then we have Nate Blondino, Mark.
And my 2-part.
Oh, sorry.
Brader DeShiel. Small,
Brady.
quick. When he goes hard to the goal, he's going. And
All right.
I mean, as a tall man myself, hated it.
How about this one?
Good answer.
The week before the national championship, Kevin Bartenfelter, hardest guy to cover in the world.
Impossible.
Oh my God.
Absolutely impossible. Triple team him. He was still getting through.
Nobody's giving me more anxiety in my entire life. I'm like, we can't stop our 6-string attackman. How in the world are we gonna stop
Shot
the
up, Grit.
player of the year? Yeah, literally.
Co-player of the year.
Co-player of the year. You were also there, buddy.
And then Tom, for you, who did you least like going against, like as a defender during practice? Who gave you the most fits out there?
Well, I only went against pretty much Davis or Preston. I didn't warrant a poll most of the time. They were different. I would say I disliked, I knew when I ran into, if I was going against Preston, I knew it was just going to be, all right, we're going to smash our heads together and see what happens. One of us is going to walk away. I honestly hated going against Davis because he would Davis was tenacious and he would run with you and make you run. And I didn't enjoy running. So Davis would jam the stick into your shoulder blade. I would walk away with bruises every day. So I would say, they were the only two guys I really went against. So I would say Davis, but only because I knew Preston and me were just going to clash heads and that was kind of going to be it. And I was going to move the ball. I knew Davis, I was going to have to work more and it was probably going to hurt a little bit more.
All right, nice.
It really was. You would only go against me and Preston, but it was every single day.
Well, that's why it didn't make sense. Teams used to pull me, and I was the worst dodger on our line. So it would make, honestly, if you just gave me a short stick and shut me off, I would have been nothing. I would have never scored.
All right, I like this next one. It's from Carson Kalama. As you know, I was out there as a fan. In the bleachers, fan favorite. Love Carson. He said, "What's your guys' go-to pregame meal?"
Ooh.
I'm cool.
Lido's.
Lido's.
Lido's Chicken Farm.
Lido's. That's what it was. Lido's.
I don't know. I wasn't superstitious. I know it was just kind of whatever. I wasn't. I had no superstitions or needed to eat the same thing ever. For me, it was just whatever we had, we had. I just will say, before a playoff game, they gave us Olive Garden once, and that was a bad idea.
We were at that Olive Garden for 3 hours.
Was that? And they gave us the smallest, tiny little food trays and everything. That was terrible.
Yes.
Do you guys remember our sophomore year? We hit Golden Corral, and coach had no idea that 7 kids had food poisoning. But as far as a budget, it was $7 for each player. Coach is like, "This is the greatest thing ever."
Yeah, we got
7 kids are puking.
We got a big game the next day, and you look over and a 7-year-old's picking his nose, sticking his arm through the chocolate fountain. We're like, "Oh, great."
And then we got one more. This one is directed specifically at Taylor from Newt. He wants to know if anyone from Nebraska is going to get drafted in the top 3 rounds of the NFL draft this year.
This year? Well, let me just start off by saying Nebraska was tied for LSU for the most players to win the Super Bowl this year. So no big deal. And no.
No, none?
No,
all right. You guys lost your QB, right?
No, unfortunately, he'll still be playing for us.
Oh, he is back. Okay.
Rathbun, there was one more question directed strictly at you. And it was,
I figured there'd be a couple questions directed just at me.
It was from Spencer Wright, and he wanted to know if you would fight him.
Any day of the week. I've told Spencer this every time. Spencer, any day of the week. I don't care if I'm fat, if I'm skinny, if I'm poor, if I'm rich. I will beat you down 10 out of 10.
Spencer is an avid fan, though. He listens to all our shows, so we do love you, Spence. All right, Marky, you got some questions for us. What do you got?
All right, so my first question is, what rivalry game would you guys get, the most amped up for? Which one were you guys circling on the calendar each year?
Taylor, tell him.
It's got to be Stevenson.
Has to be.
I mean, even in their kind of down years, I mean, it was just a battle.
Can I change the question?
Sure.
Who was your most hated team? Who did you hate the most? I think.
Ooh.
I think still Stevenson.
See, I think that Stevenson would kind of be the obvious answer, but for me, I'm going Lynchburg. I feel
me too.
Stevenson, to go out Stevenson. Yes, we always got up to play Stevenson, but there was just something about playing Stevenson, as an offensive player for me. they were wild. They were crazy. I knew they were going to take a ton of penalties. I knew we were going to be man up half the game. So like I looked forward to obviously I look forward to playing all the big games. Those are the most fun games playing. But like when we're playing at Stevenson, I know we're going to be in a 6-on-4 probably numerous times in the game. I always hated going to Lynchburg. I would say for me, Lynchburg was my, I hated playing them more so than playing Stevenson. And recently, maybe not as much in our playing career, but like Preston, when we coached and everything, I would say York. Like York's up there too.
Yeah. I think York always had that little brother syndrome. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things they'd always get up for the game. And so they always brought a little edge to them. But yeah, I agree with Tommy. It's probably Lynchburg. And I was going to say, I think our worst records against Lynchburg, but then thinking back, I think Stevenson had us twice freshman year. Lynchburg had us twice junior year. And then we lost one Stevenson junior, one Lynchburg freshman. But yeah, just recency bias. I think Lynchburg, and just having to drive down there 6 hours was just brutal. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I think Lynchburg. So we got 2 Stevensons, 2 Lynchburgs. Both of them are awesome rivalry games. For those of you listening who might not be a lacrosse fan or might not know much about the D3 lacrosse landscape, if you go to a Salisbury Stevenson game or you go to a Salisbury Lynchburg game or a Salisbury York game, you're in for a treat. It's always going to be a fun game though, regardless of, where, when, and how, like playoffs, regular season, whenever it may be.
Yeah, as a fan, I always love going to the Stevenson game too because they got a 6 stadium right there.
Oh yeah, they feel like they're on top of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mark, if you don't mind, I want to throw in. I'm surprised Tay didn't say St. Mary's. Only Salisbury player to ever get thrown out of their hometown bar.
One bar, Taylor got tossed.
I didn't want to bring that up. I wanted to be an athlete here and pretend that I was doing the same thing you guys were doing and say Lynchburg and Stevenson but yes, I do hate that team.
So for everyone listening who has no idea what we're talking about, just a quick Spark Notes version of that story. Preston lives in St. Mary's County. We stayed back there. We all kind of went out. We beat them probably by like 10, 15 goals, whatever it was. Rathbun was wearing one of Preston's shirts. Now, Taylor, you can't tell right now. He's 6'5". So he was wearing probably a medium or a large. And some kid looked at him and he goes, "What are you flexing at me?" And if anybody knows Taylor, Taylor was not flexing at the kid.
It was not flexing. There's nothing to flex.
Good times.
And by the way, just let the record show I did not lose in ping pong that whole entire day.
That is true.
People forget about that. We got entirely kicked out, and Davis came out 10 minutes later after, I assume, winning the entire thing.
Yeah, they gave me a trophy. My name's still up on the wall.
That is no free ads, but that's the green door down in St. Mary's County. Davis is a ping pong legend.
Use promo code Dale City and you'll get half price rings.
All right. So my next question, it's a feeling that probably 99.99% of people will never have. I have never even sniffed an intramural championship. What does it feel like to hoist the national championship?
Hold on. There is intramural championships that need to be talked about. The Slapshot Baguettas, I don't know. Like, yes, the national championship was amazing. Maybe second to that might be our intramural floor hockey champion. What were you, 3-peat? But go ahead, Marky. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. I mean, that was really the question. Like, how did that moment feel when you guys, hoisted that title, beat Tufts in the 2015 national championship? I just want to that was 2016. Oh yeah. 20. Okay, yeah. So how did that feel for you guys?
All right,
I'm going to lay this up for you guys.
Are you going? Who's going here?
I mean, okay, I'll go. I mean, I think it's one of those things, looking back, like you'd love to win multiple national championships and stuff like that. But like literally that is kind of what sports is all about. You know what I mean? You're going into your last game of your career. I remember sitting at the hotel, we're doing our morning thing. Everybody's going around doing speeches. It was a friggin' emotional morning. You know what I mean? Because one, obviously, you're going to the national championship, but I don't think any of that was on our minds. It was more like, hey, this is our last game together. You know what I mean? So it was a very, very special moment. Going to the last thing, a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? Being like, hey, we either go out as winners or losers. We'll always look back at this and be like, man, I wish I had that. So, all of us could say, we'd love to get rings and stuff like that. But that was just something like super special. And I think not only that, in Salisbury history has been so many national championships, but there was so much anticipation with that one. We were going to be the first class to go through, not win a ring. I know all of us the entire year we're getting stuff from alumni being like, hey, don't be those guys. We want it for you so bad. And that's just made it so special. So when it finally happened, there's pictures of all of us, especially the four of us, just embracing each other on the field. It was just incredible.
Taylor was crying. I do remember that, but I do remember it was.
How about in 2017, just to jump forward, Taylor's in the stands as a fan sobbing harder when they won than we won. But
there was a couple adult beverages involved in the 2017. In 2016, that's pure organic. Those are pure organic tears. I mean, Preston said it though. I mean, it just takes a lot, and I think Coach bringing up the possible 4-year championship drought the day of the game, never talked about it ever before. I mean, besides recruiting telling you that everybody wins a championship in 4 years, but him saying it the morning of, I mean, we all knew it, we all had talked about it, but him pointing it out that morning was huge. And I mean, it just really set the tone for the entire day that, you know, you hate to say it, but it was kind of make or break for us, and we all knew it. But as much fun as we all had and as crazy as it was, you know, we had to come out on the other end victorious.
Yeah, like you said, as great as our careers were, if we didn't win that game, though, we would have been like essentially the laughing stock of Salisbury Lacrosse. DA, what you got?
No, I think it was all that. It was a lot of pressure too. I just remember once the whistle blew, it's just like, oh, I can breathe.
Yeah. Oh, and trust me, that game went down to the last second. Colin Raymond made an unbelievable save, and he took a big hit a couple minutes before he didn't even know where he was. He spent the night in the hospital. So
he got a concussion.
Yeah. Just to kind of piggyback off what everybody said, like the pressure was mounting, right? Coach didn't bring it up, but everybody knew like kind of what was at stake. And every reporter, regardless of who they were talking to after the game, was like, if they were talking to someone like, are you going to be the first class to not win it? And it was like, I got sick of hearing that. I'm sure you guys did as well. But I think the coolest part was how kind of everybody rallied together. And like, it wasn't just our senior class, like the sophomores, the juniors, the freshmen, like everybody, they wanted it for us as bad as they wanted it for themselves. So like you said, it was that sigh of relief when we won, but I think it was that culmination of the 4 years. Like, right, we're playing like what, freshman year we lost in the semis, sophomore year we lost in the national championship to Tufts went on the win, 2 in a row. We lost in the quarters our juniors, and then we're playing Tufts again, who just beat us 2 years prior, to come out and beat them and kind of, not to say ruin their career, because they had unbelievable careers themselves. They, you know, that senior class went on to win 2 national championships, but to do it against them, it was almost like not so much revenge, just like, all right, like we earned this, we deserve this. It was no cakewalk, like, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, like Coach says, Coach always tells us like the 3 greatest days in your life are going to be when you get married, you have a kid, and you win a national championship. And so far, the national championship's the only one of those that I have, and it's by far probably the greatest day in my life.
Yeah, I mean, you guys all answered it. I was gonna like piggyback off that question and just talk about like that mounting pressure. Like, did you guys feel the pressure, going into your senior year? It was your last shot, but you guys all touched upon that. I remember, just as a little brother and as a fan, like that was just an incredible week. That was down in Philly, right? Not Baltimore. I confused those. Yeah. So that week in Philly, just seeing you guys all up on the Jumbotron doing those like pump up moments, Lincoln Financial, where the Eagles play. That was just a surreal week. And like, just you guys finally hoist the title.
Speaking of the Jumbotron, do you guys like, I don't know about you guys, during like the timeouts, I would look up and see what was going on with them. Like, how could you not? And I remember when we filmed those, like they asked us, Coach, like, can you name the presidents or whatever? And like us at Salisbury, we have a great prestigious school, but our guys, we got like 6 or 7 presidents. And then the kid from Tufts comes on and he rattles off every single president. I was like, ooh, not a good start for us there.
Yeah, no, but all around just a sick week. Like, I know all my buddies came down, all your buddies came down. I'm sure the same for you guys. And just the experience of that was incredible. All right.
Who had the greatest fan base there though? Our boy Wubbs, Nick Garbarino. Like, he was a fan favorite.
No doubt.
So this kind of ties into like the prestige of the program, like for any possible recruits that might be listening, right? Like, why Salisbury? I know you guys came from all over the country. Tom from New York, Preston from Maryland, Davis from Florida, and then Taylor from California. Like, what drew you guys to Salisbury?
I think for me at least, it was the coach, because it was definitely Berkman and just the legacy of Salisbury. But the stadium, when I went in Ford, was was garbage. It was the old stadium, old locker rooms, and that I was just like, man, like I don't know if I want to go here or not. And then after I met Coach, I was like, oh heck yeah, this is where I want to go, because I wanted to win a championship. But like, I mean, now it's just they got the greatest facilities. They got, they got such a, and it's a good school too. So it was like it's an unbelievable place to, if you're, out there looking in Salisbury is, if you're able to, you need to check it out because it is one of those places. I mean, we're still all friends. All you guys were in my wedding, So it's like, I would never, ever be friends with Taylor, ever, if I didn't meet him up there, if he wasn't on the team. So
Davis wants Spencer to beat his butt.
You meet somebody, your best friends, your lifelong friends, and then you get to, play the sport you love.
Yeah, definitely.
Press.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the winning culture. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm a little bit different than these guys. I mean, Tommy, how many hours away?
4.
Yeah, 4 hours away. I mean, Tay and Davis aren't making it up there without a flight. So, I mean, a little bit different for me. I mean, I'm only 3 hours away. Mine was, family could be there and stuff, but just the winning culture. You know what I mean? I mean, most high school recruits, when they're coming out and if you're playing college lacrosse, you probably won in high school. You know what I mean? And so for kids to have to jump and go to, especially when I coach and stuff like that, I see kids going to low programs. They go out there and they lose. They go to losing programs. And so they kind of hate it. You know what I mean? They kind of lose the competitiveness and love for lacrosse. There's nothing better than just winning games. So, I mean, that's just what kind of does it.
Yeah. T-Dog, what you got?
I mean, I'm sure Davis can agree with me on this, but, growing up, I started playing lacrosse in high school. And, I mean, my mindset was D1, 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 D1. I had no clue what D2 was. I had no clue what D3 was. I thought D2 was better than D3 just because of the numbers. But I mean, then I came out, I was at a smaller school, smaller club program. I got recruited by D2s, and they were just rinky-dink recruiting. You talk to the coach and he's kind of like, you'll be one of our better players. You'll be this. And then you go into Berkman's office on a leather couch with freaking championship, ring mock-ups. Like, I mean, everything and he just oozes confidence and swag, and he gives you the grip. And I mean, it's just, once you sit in there and you hear, and like how many national championships he wins, he brings up a couple players during your recruiting visit. They just got done with an hour lift. They're probably going to go hit wall ball for another hour. And you're just like, whoa.
You're in awe. That's what did it. That's what did it for me. I think we were all in the same boat. I think everybody who comes to Salisbury is in the same boat. Everyone's like, was a D1 caliber player, right? But for me, I was a D1 caliber player on the lower end. So all of the teams that were recruiting me were probably sub 500 or 500 at best teams. So then when like Taylor said, he sits you in the office and you see all these rings, and it's kind of that question pops up in your head. Like, do you want to go be 500 in college and kind of have a grind, or do you want to come here and win rings? And for me, like Preston and like all of you said, I wanted to come win rings. That's what drew me in here. And then like Davis said, when we got here, like, obviously the 4 of us were as close as could be, right? So we did make those lifelong friendships, and I wouldn't trade coming to Salisbury for the world, right? I mean, I still live here, right? I love this place. I love coming here. I'm so happy we all made that decision to come here, and I'm so happy that our last game we ever played, we kind of hoisted that trophy together,
Yeah, that's special. It's special. All
right, let me ask you guys this. I got a couple fun questions for you. All right, what is your favorite memory other than the national championship? And like, it doesn't have to be lacrosse. Like it doesn't have to be, what is something you remember, like whether it's winter term or whatever it may be, as long as it's appropriate, like what would you say? I got one. I'll kick you off.
Appropriate.
I got one. I'll kick you off. I remember winter term, right? Me, Preston, Taylor, and I think it was Jake and Summers lived together on Hazel. Davis lived down the block with Wes and a couple of the soccer guys. And we were all in on winter term. We had some freshmen with us. But I remember one year we watched the Denzel Washington movie every night of like winter term because there was really nothing else to do. And I just vaguely remember Wes having an iguana one winter term. We made steaks on Ohio Avenue at Davis's house. And I don't know why we put like N64. And I just remember that day like so vividly. I don't know why. What do you guys got? It's just so stupid. It's not even like a funny memory. It's just like one thing that sticks with me about Salisbury is like Davis's house in Ohio eating like terrible steaks made in the upstairs next to an iguana.
Next to the iguana.
I'll go other than Salisbury sports. You know, we mentioned earlier that intramural championship. I think that's what started the national championship run. I mean, we kind of started as like a little bit of a joke. You know what I mean? 18, some of those guys were, yeah. I mean, they were. Well, the guys who were there before, they kind of got passed down from the year before us. You know, they had won championships, and we were kind of like, oh, we'll start our own team. And so we went in the first year, rough year. Next year, what did we beat them in the semis or whatever? I mean, that was unreal. We were watching Miracle every night.
Remember that cone headline?
The cone headline. Who was it? You, Feeney, and Ottenritter? I don't know.
Yeah.
We had Preston in between the pipes because he couldn't handle a stick, so he was just our goalie there, just Bobrovsky back there. Rathbun was just bodying girls like into the the tarp and like the
pure enforcer. I could not have picked up a stick, but hey, you got to put your body on the floor. You got to slide into some of those balls real quick and soak a shot for your goalie.
And we had some dope jerseys. Preston, so we were the Slapshot Baguettas. Preston had Mike Baguetta was a coach at the time. He had his face inside of a lion on the back of our shirts or something stupid.
Also, Tom, do you remember why you gave the team away to me? You relinquished your team ownership to me?
Why was that?
I don't. I'm seriously asking you because something happened. I got ownership of the jerseys.
Oh, that might be. Maybe you wanted to create the jerseys, or was it something petty?
I think it was pettiness.
Super petty. Super petty.
I mean, if you can't be petty with your best friends, who can you be petty with?
Exactly.
All right. You guys got any cool, funny questions, stories, whatever you want to talk about?
I mean, you guys already spoke on it. Winter term. There is nothing that exists in the adult world that is anything remotely close to winter term. Waking up at noon, going to the gym for 2 hours, playing basketball, playing mini lax, playing whatever you want. And then we were on a mean zombies kick on the double TVs. Early hours of the evening. And then, that just doesn't exist outside of college.
That winter term was it. That was amazing. That was some of the most fun times. And then some people took classes, to get ahead. That was,
I always took a science or something to bang it out in 2 weeks instead of a whole term, just because we had to. But I don't know if you guys know this. Taylor and Davis, neither of them ever changed their sweatshirt throughout the entire month of winter term. They wore the same sweatshirt and sweatpants for the entire month. All right, what else you got, Mark? You got any more questions for us?
I got a dumb one here. I know that the jersey number situation, when you first get assigned, it's not, you don't get to really pick your numbers, right? So at first, were any of you guys
no, Mark. These guys got to pick their number.
You got a cool number. You were number 42. That's a dope.
That's my number, Taylor. I love that number.
Is a great number,
I know. No, I'm not. I love my number. I'm just saying they actually got to pick. So whatever he told you, they got to pick.
What was the actual process?
All right. So how it worked was you get rated, right, throughout fall ball. So everything is very honest with you. You're told exactly where you are on the depth chart for your position and exactly where you are on the depth chart for overall for the team. So there's a bunch of guys trying out. Not everybody makes the team, right? So you get ranked. And I believe it was something, I don't know if it's the same now, but back then it was if you were in that top 35 ranking of guys, you got to pick your gear, you got to pick you got to give a list of 5 numbers that you might want. And if you were in that top 5, more likely than not, you'd probably get one of those 5 numbers when it came down to dish out the equipment. And when you got your equipment, because we were fully sponsored and we still are, it was like Christmas morning, right? You got a bag full of goodies and gear and treats. It was awesome. So Preston was number 8. I was number 8 in high school and I wanted number 8, but I just put my numbers in increasing order I was 2, 8, 40, 44, whatever. And I ended up getting 2 instead of 8, and Preston got 8 and he didn't even want it, I don't think.
I think I was 1, 8, 2. And so I really wanted number 1, and we had a transfer from Onondaga come in that year, had a couple of rankings ahead of me. So he got it, and then 8, and then it would have been 2 right behind it.
So we just flip-flop numbers there.
Yeah.
Davis was 35, your first pick?
Yeah, that was the first pick. I can't remember why. I just liked how it looked.
You were the golden child.
In high school, but that was already taken.
All right, let me ask you this. What is your I don't know, funny, maybe something give me like a story. Like coach, I remember one fall ball. Coach was like, Tom, I was a shooter. I was a terrible feeder. I was a terrible dodger. Coach was like, Tom, you got to learn how to feed, right? So then one fall ball, I started feeding the ball, and then I got yelled at. He's like, shoot the ball. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Do you guys have any of those moments that you can remember?
Oh, I just remember the one. I'm sure all you guys remember this on the bus, where I forgot where we're going, and coach
Shooter
passed out for the first 2.5 hours of the ride, and we were watching Shooter, and he wakes up for literally the last 5 minutes, and goes, "Man, that looks like a good show." I wonder what movie that was. And we're all saying like, "All right, you rats, put another movie in, rats." And he goes, I think it was Connor Walsh or someone, and he goes, wants to go, puts in another movie, and coach goes, "No, put Shooter back in." So we had to watch Shooter.
But if you remember, the first time we watched it, there was no audio. So we watched it, and then we watched it again with audio, and then coach wanted to watch it. So we watched Shooter 3 times.
That's right. Oh my gosh.
Shooter.
There was a funny story about it was really all of us, but Tommy especially. So our senior year, obviously, spring break, we're all staying, and it's very similar to winter break. It's just all of us guys, right? So we got on this golf streak. So I think we got the first ever golf ban, where like we literally were not allowed to play golf. So Tommy went to this little stretch, right? Friggin' midfield of the year, scoring like 4 goals a game. And he goes on a stretch of like 5 games where he like can't hit the cage.
Okay.
And he's golfing every single day. And so I'm going to be a little bit more, but coach is freaking out. And he's like, I don't know what it is. If you're golfing, no golf, and banned us from golfing.
I'll say this. JB, who ran on the line with me, awesome dude, JB, phenomenal golfer. So JB and me would go out, like we had nothing else to do. It was in the playoffs, Preston. It wasn't spring break. So it was the playoffs. So we were done with school. Like at that point, you're a professional athlete. You're playing lacrosse and that's it, right? Just not getting paid, obviously. But me and JB would go out and play golf every day. I went through that little drought, and I just bought a new set of golf clubs that day. And coach gave me the golf ban. I was like, oh.
Maybe come back on the OT winner, though.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
right,
to be fair, Tommy came back. Yeah.
All right, so that'll lay up our next question there. So outside of the national championship, I want to know what each of your favorite, like maybe your favorite personal moment was as a Salisbury lacrosse player. Like I think that for me probably was the most special moment outside of us winning the national championship, like having the overtime game winner in the quarterfinals against Denison. That was probably like the coolest moment in my career aside from winning a championship. Do you guys have a cool moment?
The SVU goalie stuffed me on my only chance to ever score.
Couple ghost checks too.
The ghost check, getting hung up on a cage in the quarterfinals.
You're too hard on yourself, brother.
I mean,
no, I think we're too hard on him.
It's true. Dave, what about you?
Dude, I'm trying to remember. I there wasn't like in terms of like plays and stuff. I'm trying to think of something.
What about that Stevenson game in the playoffs where we sat on the bridge for like 6 hours and then we went and played at 11? That was a really cool game.
That was epic. I do remember that. And they didn't want to play, remember?
We were down. We came out flying. We beat them up too. I don't even remember what the score was.
I think this was, I can't remember who, it could have been Lynchburg, but it was we're playing at home, and it started like raining and then went to
rain and snow, yeah.
And then the snow. And then by the end of it, the whole entire field was covered. You couldn't, was that our sophomore year?
That was our sophomore year because we were living on Hazel that time because I remember what happened after that game. We won't get into that. But I think Greg Corbin had the game winner in that game in overtime.
Yeah. To speak on that Stevenson game too, a big help was the parents were there so long, they were getting liquored up for like 4 hours. So like we come out of the tunnel and the parents just going bananas. They're just losing their mind. So as far as like an electric game, I mean, that had.
I'm surprised they stayed up, but that game was supposed to happen at like 6 o'clock. We didn't end up the opening faceoff was at what, like 11:30 at night or something like that.
Yeah.
And the lights went off.
I think coach was the one who didn't want to play. He was like, look, we're sitting on a bus for 4 or 5 hours. They're sitting there in the locker room. And then he turned to all of us and we're like, yo, like, we're not staying in a hotel tonight. No way.
Yeah.
Like, we're playing tonight. And then once he saw it in all of us, he's like, all right, we're playing.
That worked out in our favor so well because they were out there. They probably ended up shooting for like an hour and a half total. They probably stretched 4 times before. I mean, they went through their pregame like song playlist probably 6 times, just like trying to stay amped, trying to stay calmed down. And then we were just, pissed.
I know what was going on with us. Probably watching Shooter.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, how about Cabrini? I remember Newt getting so hyped up. Our good buddy Newt, when we were playing Cabrini at Cabrini, and they came out with the Kid Rock song "Ba with the Ba," and we just came out and annihilated them. We got so hyped when they played that.
That was the biggest mistake.
Oh, that was the best. And then we adopted that song. That became like a staple for us after that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So. All
What were some of the other songs that we had? I was actually thinking about this the other day because I listened to that song on the radio the other day.
What did remember our sophomore group did the pipe it up? Like they would do the smelling salts to that song.
Yeah.
15th and the First was another one. I think that's what it's called. Gucci Man.
Like James, obviously.
Oh, Super Freak after we won for sure. Yeah. Those were all great times. Obviously we would be, remiss if we didn't mention how important the assistant coaches are in Salisbury. Obviously Coach Berkman is a legend. But I just want to give credit to all the, obviously the players who came before us, but also the assistant coaches, especially during our tenure here. Just give a shout out to those guys. They were awesome. Justin Axel, Ben Sandlin, Eric Miller was helping out, I believe, at the time. Mike Baguetta, Granelli was with us at that time. I don't think I'm missing any of ours. Sammy Bradman was with us too in 16, right?
And Block.
And Jamie, of course, Jamie Block. Jamie Block is everyone's boy. Dude.
I still get a Merry Christmas card from him.
It's Jamie.
You guys don't?
Must be nice.
I'm going to say I do just to save face, but Jamie, if you're listening to this, send me a Christmas card next year. What's going on?
Okay, well, let me clarify. Christmas text.
Okay, yeah, I get that, and Thanksgiving. Get the Thanksgiving text as well. Okay. Are you getting Thanksgiving?
Hey, remember when we FaceTimed him recently? All these
was it on your bachelor party or something?
I think it was. It was on my bachelor party.
That's awesome.
That was epic.
Tom, I'm glad you brought that up though, because that's massive to a program's success. I mean, 2 things: having your senior class, be around, and your coaching staff is so big. I mean, I remember going to a lacrosse camp during college, and one of the alumni, it was his school he was coaching at, and he was talking about the fact that he struggles to get kids to their senior year. You know what I mean? They come in, they don't play, they don't win, and they quit. He had 2 seniors and 3 juniors, and I know for us as captains in 2016, we kind of looked at, Tay and those other seniors, and we were like, look, everything we say, it's going to kind of fall on deaf ears unless you guys kind of reinforce it. You know what I mean? Because there is that separation between the captains, kind of look more, players look at you towards the coach's side. You know what I mean? So if, we tell the players something, they'll be like, oh, they're full of it. The seniors are backing up no, they're serious. That's what we're doing. That's what we're going to be holding them to. So that was massive. And then, Tommy, I mean, I was thinking about this today, Sandlin, probably the most underrated guy in Salisbury history. I mean, it's incredible. Guy's got a full job. The amount of film he breaks down and stuff is just insane. And
he built that for me too. He's quite the woodworker. He built that jet sign for me. That's Sandlin Custom Creations. I'll have Marky link that in our bio too.
Our preseason, Sandlin sat down all the young guys. We had a young defense, and he looked at Davis, Tay, and I, and was like, "I'm doing it for these guys." You know what I mean? These, because they've been here 4 years, haven't won it. You young guys need to pick it up as well. Him, Axel, Granelli. I mean, I don't know if we do what we did without those guys.
Yeah, I mean, all the credit in the world. First of all, they're unbelievable people, right? They're great. They're great guys. Everyone who comes through here, has impacted a life, our lives in a pretty serious way. So we are almost out of time. So I just want to wrap this up real quick. Just maybe send a little shout out to the 2021 goals here before their upcoming season. I know they're in a grind right now with COVID. I think they're practicing for a month straight before their first game. I actually had the opportunity to go watch them scrimmage versus each other the other day, and they look great. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the 2021 goals. I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to get that ring this year and get number 13 here for us. So you guys just want to give them a quick shout out, give them a little luck.
Enjoy it, boys. Enjoy your time. You're going to miss it when it's over. I'll tell you that.
And we'll be rooting, man. We'll be pulling for you hard.
Good luck, fellas.
If you get to the championship, it is a guarantee that Taylor will be in the stands crying when you win.
Shirtless, drunkest guy there.
If they're
all
lucky,
right. So thank you guys so much for coming on. It was, first of all, awesome to see you guys, awesome to talk with you guys, and just kind of rehash and just kind of, chop it up. Like,
it's a pleasure to be on with the beard and the brain, baby. I mean, thank you for having us on.
The honors all ours.
The most elite podcast that has probably ever come out of Salisbury University.
No question.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming on, guys. It was a lot of fun.
All right.
Mark, I also have something for you.
Yeah, what's that?
Not this evening, but in the future, maybe if I ever get back on the pod, I would like to formally challenge you to an FBS D1 mascot challenge.
Oh, that's a rock in a hard place right there.
So
I'm in. Let's do it.
Hey, we'd love to have you back on. You could be our Big Ten consultant if you want.
Yep.
All right, guys. So that's going to wrap us up here for episode 9. We will see you next week on The Brain and the Beard. Go Goals, baby.
Peace.
Go Goals.
Go Goals.